I think for many different areas of specialization, problem-based learning can be really powerful and really useful. I think my experience with it has been the worst thing to do is to take an actual case and turn it into a learning case for a student. And the reason I say that is there is never a case, it doesn't really matter what you're doing, there's never a case that happens in the real world that follows all of the specific things that you read in the textbook, right? There's always some weird thing that veers off. And I think there's this tendency when you have some expertise in an area, when you go to teach someone, you don't want them to get fooled by the crazy things that you saw, the curveballs that came down the pike on a specific case. And so I like to think of those as random acts of violence, right? So there are these crazy things. You're like, oh, once I had this dog that did this crazy thing, and it was really bizarre and crazy. So I'm going to throw that into this case because it'll be fun for the students. That's not fun for the students. That's disorienting for the students, and it sort of is preparing them for the thing that almost never happens, rather than preparing them for the things that are common and happen all the time. So I think when you're designing a problem-based curriculum and you're designing problems and cases to use in that curriculum, stick to the standard things, stick to the important things, because to the students that's all brand new, and what you want to give them is an opportunity to practice those common things, practice those things that unfold in a standard way, rather than sort of taking off onto these little curveballs that happen very occasionally. So I think it's really difficult for an expert in an area to design a good basic case for a student who's seeing something for the first time, because we're really interested by the crazy things. So I think my biggest piece of advice is, keep it simple, stupid, right? Follow the textbook kinds of cases, because to the students that's brand new and that's what you want them to learn. The other piece of advice I would offer to people who want to get started developing cases for a problem-based curriculum is to not try to do it by yourself. So every one of us has our biases and our perspectives and what we think are important, and I think getting a group of people together to work on cases and brainstorm is the best way to do it. And so that's how we've designed all of our cases. We get 3 or 4 of us in the room and we start laying out on the board exactly, what are the challenges, what are the things that we're trying to elicit in the students. And in the simulation realm, that means the specific observable behaviors that we want them to exhibit, things that we can see and check off on a list. And we start by listing those things before we even think about the case vignette. What is it, what are our learning objectives, and then what are the specific behaviors we want to elicit? And only after we have that laid out do we then design the case. And that really helps to avoid those random acts of violence, because if you know what your objectives are, then throwing a curveball makes no sense, because you know what behaviors you're trying to elicit. So get a group of people together, make sure that everyone reaches consensus on the important topics so that you don't sort of go down a rabbit hole of your own interest.